Bare Element, episode 29, recorded 14 August 2013. Let's try that.
Are you recording, Vito?
Now I'm recording.
Okay.
Episode 29.
29 again.
Hello, hello, hello.
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 I remember my 29th.
You do? That was a long time ago.
All 15 of them.
Oh, 29 and holding, you mean?
Doo-doo-doo. I refuse to answer that question on the grounds that may incriminate me.
Now I do 39 and holding.
Well, this is Clay.
And this is Vito.
This is Wolfie.
This is Dave.
Dave.
McHugh. Was that confusing?
Well, usually we expect to hear Tim pipe up at that point, but you're filling in for him, so thank you, Dave.
Yes, Dave's guest
McHugh.
hosting.
Anytime.
Dave McHugh.
It's becoming every time.
So what's happened with Tim?
Tim is still with us.
He got screwed.
He got screwed big time.
You should see
Oh
his
my
X-ray.
goodness.
We should put that on the website. That X-ray is pretty awesome. Like,
I
shit.
definitely am going to do that. He broke his shoulder, I guess.
Clavicle,
arm,
humerus, radius.
3 times in 3 different places.
Something.
It's
One
not a
time,
pretty sight.
3 different places. He's not going to make it tonight.
He's not going to make it, man.
He's not going to make it because he can't drive. He can only use one arm, and he doesn't feel comfortable with that. So I'm assuming he's in a lot of pain.
I'm sure he's got lots of good drugs.
Is he as in much pain as I am?
Wow.
Well, who did you have? Who did you have to bribe to be a guest host tonight? This time,
Now you're just begging me to come.
So he broke his humerus up near the shoulder. But he can put on his socks. He's very happy. He's making progress. Poor guy.
oh man.
So enough about Tim and his, broken humor. We have a guest. Who invited this guest?
I did.
All right. Well, introduce your guest.
All right. Well, I've known Jeph, Jeph.
That's not real.
That's not real. That's not on your birth certificate. No. I'm glad you brought it up. Is it all right to use your last name?
Yeah, of course.
Henderson?
Yeah.
He is on a fantastic project that he created himself, and we'll hear more about it in a minute, but, 20 years I've been an acquaintance of yours?
I was thinking about it today. I think I've known you since the mid-'90s, so.
Yeah, and I lived in Long Beach.
Me too.
Yeah, after I came out. Awesome.
You came flying out.
Oh, you're one of the people that remembers.
He's one of the people that went, really? You're coming out? Okay. Good for you.
No, it's true. When I decided to, I did it big time. Socially, a little bit of everything. Anyway,
enough about Vito. Let's talk about Jeffrey.
and Ron isn't here tonight.
Busy man.
Busy man. Jeph, tell us about your project.
Okay. I'm shooting a documentary called I Was a 12-Pound Baby. And it came to be because I had gained a lot of weight and was really uncomfortable and becoming a bit of a recluse. And decided I needed to do something about it, and decided to have surgery. Went to a couple of consultations with a couple of different doctors, decided on a vertical sleeve gastrectomy, which is a fancy way of saying I had part of my stomach removed. And in doing the research before the surgery, I wasn't finding any men's stories. And there was one night I sat on the internet for probably 3 hours going through before and after pictures on website after website, just trying to find one person that looked like me or someone I could identify with that I could relate to. It was really hard. And after about 3 hours, I found one photo of this guy who looked kind of like me. And then he had the surgery, lost a bunch of weight. He looked good. And so I decided that a story needed to be told. I needed to share my story because if there's one person out there that's thinking about it and relates to me, there's a lot of gray area, a lot of questions you might have that I thought I could help.
That's great, my friend. I actually did a bunch of research on this. This is Vito. I'm still considering the surgery. I'm more leaning towards the gastric band than the sleeve, though. It's really nice because Kaiser makes you go through this educational process before you get to it. They even do a psychological evaluation. Did you do it through Kaiser?
No, I have, I think it's Blue Shield. I want to say Blue Cross or Blue Shield. I'm pretty sure it's Blue Shield. And they have a 6-month waiting period, which is, again, an educational process. And they have a bunch of requirements. You have to lose 5% of your body weight prior to surgery. You have to complete a full psychiatric evaluation. You have to go to monthly meetings or doctor's appointments and do weigh-ins, meet with a nutritionist. So there's all these hoops you have to jump through. I started out, the funny thing is I'd been thinking about this for a long, long time. So by the time I went to have a consultation with a doctor, I was ready. He could have cut me that day. I could have gone. I was ready for it. I was so mentally prepared. And that's when I found out you have to wait 6 months. Like, you're kidding. And so I went through and I learned about all the stuff that I have to do to get the surgery. I started out really gung-ho. And when I, losing weight right away, I lost 15 pounds within the first, 6 weeks, just in preparation for the surgery. And then it all just kind of went flat for me. I lost motivation. I was depressed. I thought 6 months was excessive. But of course I went to the psychiatric evaluation and, flew through that, which wasn't a surprise to me because I was very mentally prepared. I was in the right frame of mind. I'd done a lot of research. It was pretty torturous. And actually, when I went in for the consultation, I was considering the band myself because I knew a friend of ours, had gotten the lap band, and he was kind of what pushed me into saying out loud that I want to do something like this. Because that was kind of the scariest part for me, was just getting ready to talk about it and say, I need help. I'm to this point in my life where this is something I want to do. So,
I know, because everybody goes, "Oh, you can just lose weight. You can just go on a diet," and it's like,
but they're right. They're right. You can. And losing weight's not that hard. It really isn't if you're disciplined and you do it. But what's hard is not gaining it back and not putting your body through that hell. And for me, I've lost weight so many times over the course of my adult life, and I've tried anything that you can imagine. I've done it, and I've succeeded at most of them. But time passes, and then I find myself fatter than I was before. And it's like, clearly I'm not able to do this, So I admitted defeat.
Well, now tell me about the title of the documentary.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Because when I was born, I was 11 pounds, 7 3/4 ounces. I was the biggest of my mom's 6 children, although all of her kids were 8 pounds and up. I was born in a small town in Montana. I'm the second largest baby ever born there.
Whoa.
And I held the record of the largest for, I think, 4 years until Tabitha was born. And she beat me by a few ounces. But I was the doctor. There are 2 doctors in town. I was our doctor's largest baby ever born, and Tabitha was the other doctor's baby. So, largest baby ever born. He wasn't actually her baby, his baby. But, and it's always been kind of a joke. Always referred to myself as the 12-pound baby. My brother says that I was 3 months old when I was born. Little things like that. So, I was just a fat little baby. I was adorable, though. Fat babies are cute as hell.
Or the little chubby chubs with the...
Oh, yeah. And just the little, roly legs and the fat little arms. And
I bet you worked it.
Little Michelin men.
I did.
There you go.
Well, I don't think I wasn't a big... I think I was about 9 pounds.
9 pounds is a big baby.
Is that a big baby?
Average baby is 7 pounds.
I'll check my birth certificate and see what it says, but I don't remember it being anything like the record books, on the record books. But, were you a big baby, Clay?
I was, but ironically, I'm the smallest man in my family. All my brothers are taller than me and, much more built. I'm chubby, but, they're all bigger guys.
More masculine?
Of course. God, because of that thing. No, I don't think my younger brother really gives a shit about masculinity. He just is, and he accepts people for who they are. So it gives me faith in our future, is the younger people don't seem to be as tied to a lot of the crap that we had to go through.
Oh, they're not at all.
True. Yeah.
Oh, they're so not at all. It's not important to them at all.
Well, Jeffrey, it was interesting when you were talking about the prep for your surgery. It reminds me of stories that I've heard about people that are changing gender, and I was actually going to make an inappropriate joke, but and the reason I didn't, I stopped myself, it was really emotional listening to you talk about it, and it's very real. And I've had friends that have done weight loss surgery, but none of them have really talked much about it. It was just something that they did, and they didn't deny that it happened, but they also didn't share their experiences. And so I can see why there would be a real dearth of information for you to find out what other people went through, because there's just not, I think a lot of people are embarrassed about being overweight.
There's a huge stigma, which is
It's true.
which is what we're getting at. Yeah.
Well, and that was my plan. I was just going to quietly go have this consultation and have the surgery and just, explain it afterwards if I needed to. I was totally going to Star Jones it. I was going to deny until I couldn't deny it anymore. But sitting in the office, that's when it occurred to me. This could help someone, and I should tell the story.
That's right. It's its own adjective. She went on The View, right, and said that she didn't have the
I
surgery?
did not have the surgery. Yeah.
But it's actually a lot like something much more common in pregnancy, which is you don't talk about your pregnancy until you're past a certain point, right? And then and that's kind of the same thing with weight loss surgery. Once it's happened, it gets to the point where you're losing weight at a pace that's, something's going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And actually, after surgery, the first month, I lost almost 40 pounds. So it was undeniable. I would walk in every day at work and my coworkers were like, oh my God. You could just see it come off of me. Now it's really slowed down. It was losing a pound a day at that point. Now it's like 2 to 3 pounds a week.
Wow.
Which is
So how much have you
normal.
lost and when was the surgery at this point? Like how much time?
I had the surgery June 18th. So prior to surgery, I had to lose, I was required to lose 18 pounds. I lost 25. And
Good
so,
for you.
well, it's funny because I had lost about 18 up to the Friday before surgery. And then I kicked it into high gear for the weekend because, the surgeon had told me horror stories about you don't want any food in your stomach. And so I was super careful of what I ate all weekend. And then the rest was protein shakes. So I lost like another, 7 pounds over the course of the 4 days before the surgery.
Wow.
So that beginning period is really, really fast. So you'd be really hard pressed to hide that unless you go into hiding for a month.
So it was 25 pounds right before you started, and
Right
then
before surgery,
it seems like it's been almost 2 months since the surgery. So what have you lost in the last 2 months?
I'm at about 70 down total. So
Okay. So you've lost about 50 pounds in 2
so
months, plus
45
18
pounds
to
is where I'm
kick.
down, yeah.
Or actually, okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Since surgery. So yeah, like I said, the first 35 went so quickly.
And because of the gastric, it's not a gastric bypass, it's a sleeve
Mm-hmm.
where they take out a physical part of the stomach, right?
Yes.
What about hunger?
That's the weird part. I've not really felt what I've known hunger to be since before the surgery. They say that there's a hormone that your stomach produces, and it's produced from a portion of the stomach that they remove. Whatever. I didn't know how much truth there was to that. So for the longest time I've said I've not felt hungry. I've not felt hungry. In the last few weeks, I've started to feel something different that I think now might be hunger. It doesn't feel like what I always knew my body when I was hungry. I always knew it doesn't feel anything like that.
What about like when I know that my blood sugar level has dropped and I need to eat?
That's the
What
weird
about
thing.
that?
That's what I always experienced before. I'd get to the point where I was so shaky. I don't have any of that anymore.
Oh, it must be controlled by that part of the stomach.
It must, but
My friends that had the surgery, one of them, it was very successful, absolutely no hunger at all after the surgery, and the other one was like, maybe they missed because I'm starving Marvin all the time. So I think it's hunger is very different for people, and it was interesting to hear you say that because I have friends that confront their weight loss issues by embracing hunger. This is good to be, when I'm hungry, that's my body switching over and saying, okay, I'm going to start, eating all the fat, and all the fat deposits. And so that's good. I'm going to embrace that. And for other people, that's hell, and they suffer through it. And other people are like, oh yeah, I'm hungry. And because what cracks, people laugh at me all the time, but with my ADD, if I spiral out of control and I hyper obsess about something, I can forget to eat. And it'll be 11:30 at night and I'll have this just massive headache because I haven't eaten in 7 or 8 hours. And people are like, how can you, of all people, chubby, forget to eat? I'm like, well, I think hunger is very different for everybody. And it's interesting to hear your experience.
I would be one of those people that I could never relate to someone forgetting to eat. My family, I was raised in a family where when you're sitting at breakfast, you're talking about what you're going to have for lunch. And when you're at lunch, you're talking about what you're going to have for dinner. When you're at dinner, you talk about what you're going to have for breakfast. And so it's a bizarre thing. It's on the one hand, your mom's sitting there telling you, you need to lose weight. And then, are you hungry?
Yeah, that's
kidding
my
me?
mom.
Shut
Yeah,
up.
exactly.
I don't think parents have ever been known to help weight loss at all. Like
No.
under any
Like-
circumstances, in any
My
way.
mother's approach to my weight was either you look emaciated or you need to lose weight.
Yeah.
She was never, I never looked good in her eyes. I was either too skinny or too fat.
It's like psychological reinforcement.
And she always, she would serve platters of steaks, for 6 people.
Well, steaks are yum.
Yeah, but there's only 6 people at the table, and she didn't like leftovers.
Well, I just went on a trip with my family, and I explained in greater detail what the process of the surgery was, and that my stomach, it's tiny now. It's like the size of a deck of cards. So think of how much food you could fit into a deck of cards, right? And so we went out to eat, and I sat by my dad, and he ordered food, and I just kind of shared with him. So I had a little bit of food, and my mom kept putting food on my plate. What are you doing? I can't physically fit that inside me. And she,
that's okay.
It's a mothering instinct.
Absolutely.
That's okay.
Absolutely.
You'll eat lamb.
Yeah, that's okay. I make lamb.
Are you a vegetarian?
Now, here's a good question. Do you feel full sooner when you eat?
Immediately.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do know that for some people who like to eat to extreme, sometimes they do it to the point where their body or their stomach or whatever loses the ability to feel full.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's like you're constantly, there's a drug called Engorge that, bodybuilders will sometimes take if they really want to gain, and that basically cuts out the ability to feel full, and then you can overeat to the point where...
Yeah.
Sounds dangerous.
I think one of the warnings with the surgery was that you have to masticate to the nth degree. So I'm an expert masticator now.
Masticate.
It's awesome.
And so, and it's funny because I didn't realize...
I'd love a demo during the break.
I didn't realize...
we were masticating earlier.
And I totally had to learn how to do it. I didn't realize that I basically put food in my mouth, chewed it a couple times and swallowed it until I had the surgery. And, one of my biggest fears in life is vomiting, and I cannot do it. The idea of it just freaks me out. And so.
What about when other people do it? Like,
oh, yeah. Stop it.
Yeah. It would have to be actually real, but, if there was stuff flying out of you, I'd probably throw it too.
But clearly the people I know who've gone through this, they've done their share of vomiting since this has happened.
I have not.
Wow, good for you.
I've come close twice.
Okay.
And, it's like deep breathing, calming down, because a lot of that is, it exacerbates, when you feel like you have to start to vomit, and if you're freaked out about vomiting, you freak out more, and then you have to vomit more. It's that vicious cycle. So you have to eat small portions, chew the hell out of it, and like I said, you just have to know when to stop. And the hard part, and the thing that was weird to me, is that food cravings never go away. Like, if you love something, you are gonna want to take a bite of that. But what's hard is that you take a bite of it, and dude, that's pretty much all you're gonna have, So,
which is one of the secrets of Weight Watchers. They say if you have a craving, just take the little tiniest piece of it, put it on your mouth, and savor that, because all you're craving is the flavor. You don't need a whole bar of chocolate. You just need a little taste of it, and just let it settle and enjoy. Learn to appreciate that. Oh, well, I'm craving the flavor.
I've always said it when you're on a diet. If you are craving, if you feel like you gotta have pizza, go have a piece of pizza before you order a large and eat the whole thing. Just get it out of the way.
I've done that. Yeah.
And
but how do you? Well, I guess you don't. You don't have the room, right? Emotional eating. I mean, I eat when I'm happy. I eat when I'm sad. I just love to eat. Yeah. So it's like you just don't have the space.
I can't. And
that's how you lose weight.
And I was a bit of an emotional eater. I was kind of a bored eater too, though. Nothing to do. Let's go see what's in the fridge, and I'd eat. And I find myself doing that once in a while, and I'll walk into the pantry and be looking around and think, "Oh God, it would be so much work to even chew that. I'm not even going to bother."
So, if you don't mind, I'm curious about the documentary. So, if I may extrapolate on some of the things you've said here, you were looking on the internet for stories about men who go through the weight loss surgery. You weren't finding them, so you decided to create your own. You're doing a documentary on your process.
Yes.
Would you say that it's this stigma we talked a little bit about earlier that is what made it hard for you to find stories on the internet? And are you experiencing? Well, I guess what I'm curious about, are you experiencing some of that stigma? Have you told people you're losing weight because of surgery, and are you getting?
Most of what I experienced was before I had the surgery, and I should clarify that with the stories on the internet, you can find tons of women's stories. Women are comfortable talking about their weight, and they'll share their stories with other women. Men don't.
Do you think that's just the nature of men versus women? Women all talk and get emotional.
I think some of it has to do with the fact, and this is me personally, I would never tell someone when I was on a diet. I didn't want anybody to know, because it's that it's like quitting smoking. You don't announce to everybody, "Oh, I quit smoking," and because a month later they see you smoking.
Well, that's just it. It's the fear of failure. You don't tell people
Exactly. And I
because
have
you're
a
afraid
huge
you're going to
fear of
fail.
failure.
Or they'll hold you accountable.
Exactly. I don't
Yeah.
want
Which
to
is
be
another
accountable.
cornerstone of Weight
Yeah.
Watchers is that you do announce that you're dieting and you do announce that you want to
Yeah.
lose weight, so that if you see me shoving the rest of this package of Oreos in my mouth, he was like, "Well, Clay, weren't you going to try to run with that?" Right?
Yeah. I had great success on Weight Watchers. I think the coach is a fantastic idea.
Yeah, I tried Weight Watchers. I didn't love it. Of course, I tried Weight Watchers and Jenny Craig and private treatment center and blah blah blah.
Well, but that comes back to what you said about it's easy to lose weight. What's
Yeah.
hard is keeping it off
Mhm.
and not gaining it back, and that cycle is very difficult on the body.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should be careful about saying things like it's easier to lose weight. I think that's, I don't know. I lost a lot of weight, as you guys know. I was a guest a few months ago, 2 months ago. And, one thing, I lost 112 pounds in a year through fitness and nutrition.
Right.
And, constantly people were coming up to me and they were saying, how much weight have you lost? I'm like, I lost 65 pounds, 95 pounds, whatever it was that day. And they're like, well, it's easy to lose weight. It's hard to take it off. And it's just like, you know what? You don't tell somebody who has just lost like 100 pounds in 10 months. Oh, it's easy to lose weight. It's kind of like, oh, okay.
But
Thanks.
that's a very dramatic number, though. What's easy is like any of us can lose 10, 20
Sure.
pounds as guys. It's
Sure.
easier for men to lose weight than women,
Sure.
and shed it. But it's keeping it off is the challenge.
But going back to what you were asking about, Dave, is even the idea that when people make comments like that, it's never people who actually have a lot of weight to lose. It's people that have like 10 little vanity pounds.
Right.
Oh, I just can't squeeze into
Sure.
my size 32 jeans.
Right. Yeah,
Screw you
exactly.
guys.
He just flipped everybody.
I didn't know
off
if I
right
could say that.
He really just let me the bird.
because it's an audio podcast.
Anyone that wears size 32 jeans, you've been flipped off.
I love you in a different
But-
way.
I used to have a 32-inch waist.
I think I did when I was 4.
When I lost weight out of college, I was down to 32-inch waist.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I had 32 when I was 10, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, because I was wearing men's clothing when I was like 12.
Big
I don't know,
boy.
dude.
I mean,
Hus-
actually,
do
it
Huskies
was
come in
probably,
32?
yeah, that's pretty
Oh
bad.
yeah, Huskies, flat-footed, the ugly shoes, the whole bit.
But most of the time people would make comments and they're trying to be helpful is, when I would tell them I'm going to have the surgery. Since surgery, they haven't really made comments like that, but it's,
Is it like, are you sure you want to do that? Like, what were the,
it was like, are you sure that's really drastic? Or have you tried this? Have you tried that?
yeah.
Are you kidding me? I didn't just wake up one day and decide I'm going to go have someone remove part of an organ.
It's a big
It's
decision.
a huge decision. And I toiled over it for 2 or 3 years.
And I think they don't necessarily understand that the doctors aren't even going to let you be impulsive about this. You said there's a 6-month waiting period. My mother did it. She had to be signed off by a heart doctor, a lung doctor, a psychologist, her general practitioner, a nutritionist. I think there were like 6 medical professionals that had to sign off on it before she
the
could do it.
tests I went through were
Yeah.
crazy. Everything. I mean, the good news is aside from being morbidly obese, I got a great bill of health, I'm in good condition, which makes me happy. But
One of the things I've read is, I don't know if this is true or if you've been told this, or if, this could be a lie. But one of the things I've read is, if you have the weight loss surgery, you can expect from just the surgery alone, to lose about half your excess weight. But the other half will come from, isn't it like the first half, like I don't know how much you wanted to lose from start to finish, but the first half comes off relatively quickly. And then after that, it's going to be really coming back down to your nutrition and your exercise and all that.
yeah, absolutely. Because it's a drastic measure in that first month, you're really consuming nothing but liquids, protein shakes, strained soups, Jell-O, popsicles. And I don't ever want to touch Jell-O again.
That's hot.
Oh my God. But eventually, I mean, so you start out at about 500 calories. I'm about 500 to 800 calories a day now. Eventually,
That's not a lot of food.
it's not. So like a year from now, I should be on like a 2,000 calorie diet.
Even with the size of your stomach, you can
Yeah.
eat 2,000 calories
I
a
can eat
day.
2,000 calories because your stomach will stretch a little bit. This is where you have to be super careful with this though, because you could potentially stretch your stomach back out to its original size, which makes the whole thing pointless.
You're back to square
Yeah.
one.
I'm
Yeah.
reading more and more about that. Now that the weight loss surgery has become a certain number of years old, you're hearing more and more about the earlier people and their behaviors and their stomachs getting undone, so to speak. I mean, yeah.
Well, tell me about the Kickstarter.
The
How did you
Kickstarter.
promote it? Tell us about that experience with the Kickstarter?
Well, I'd worked on a few films with my partner and, I knew the costs involved and I knew that I knew I needed equipment. And when we made other films before, we'd rented equipment or hired people that had their own equipment. And this was a 1 to 2 year project. So I couldn't go and just rent equipment. And to me, it's really hard to film a documentary with rented equipment because you need to be able to just like have a thought and go sit in front of the camera and talk about it. And so I don't know. It just kind of came to me. I'd been a Kickstarter fan for a while, and I thought, shit, I could do a Kickstarter. So I did, and I basically just sat down and figured out a budget for what I would need for basic equipment, like the camera that's in the room with us now, and then a few other things, and just put it out there and put it on Facebook. Facebook was awesome for promoting it. I have more friends than one should ever have on Facebook. So that was really helpful. All of my coworkers kicked in. My whole family kicked in. I have some friends that, right away, just like I got a couple of big donations. So, wow. So you guys are going to be producers. So it was really great. And so the point of my Kickstarter was for startup costs. And I've always said that at the end, when it comes down to editing and finishing the film, I may have to do another Kickstarter, depending on, where I'm at in life at that point.
Do you feel that the documentary is in any way, it may be early to answer this question, but do you think it's in any way driving or going to drive your success?
Yes. I feel like that's what's holding me accountable, because I've said I'm going out there, I'm having this surgery, I'm losing weight, and I'm documenting it. And my goal would be to have it shown, have people see the documentary, festivals, maybe on TV, whatever.
So that's the ultimate accountability right there.
Yeah, I was just gonna, my story was told a few episodes ago, but I lost weight in a very public way too. I was sponsored by a gym and a nutritionist, and I was blogging for them and did appearances for them and stuff. And, a piece of advice I would translate to you that I don't even need to give to you because you already learned it, which is don't turn off the cameras and don't ever stop the documentary because it's going to push you forward. I attribute a big part of my success to the public nature of it. It was really hard to fail knowing that every week there was going to be a blog about my update, and every week I had a weigh-in. And it was kind of like a reality show in my head. And I felt like, oh man, I really don't want to, I don't want to lose this. So good for you. Make it public and keep the cameras rolling.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
You've helped to make this whole thing very real for me because it's always been very abstract because people have been so reserved about it.
Thanks.
So good for you. Well, we'll keep the cameras rolling when we go to break here, but we're almost at the end of our first half hour. And for our bearradio.net listeners, we'll be back next week. And for those of you listening on iTunes or our website, we'll be back.
And welcome back to episode 29.
29. Part
29.
2.
Part 2.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
Sans Ron, who's out and about. Sans Tim, who's recovering from surgery.
Wow.
Yeah. And we have our guest host, Dave McHugh.
Hey boys.
Hey.
There could be girls listening.
Hey, girl.
And girls.
We can't
Dave.
stop. We can't stop them from
And so,
listening.
Not be discriminatory.
And intergenders.
so this is Clay.
And this is Vito.
This is Wolfie.
This is Dave.
And we have Jeph Henderson.
Our guest.
Hello.
And
Hello.
and last half hour, his partner was filming us, and now he's going to join the conversation. Jeffrey, introduce your partner.
This is my lovely partner, Kevin.
Oh,
Hello, Podcast Land.
that's Podcastlandia.
Wow, what a sexy voice.
Easy now.
Easy now. Hey now. So we got a little off topic last half hour because it was such an intense topic, and it's really good. So we're kind of mixing things up in this second half hour, and we're going to start with our this or that. Cue the music.
Okay. Our other friend, Jeph, go ahead.
It's time for this or that.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeph.
Thank you. This or that. How do you hang the toilet paper? I would answer that. I would further ask the question, do you hang it the right way or the wrong way?
That's subjective.
Ah.
I hang it the right way.
I've always been anal retentive about it.
It's
Pun intended.
Over. Under
Yes.
is stupid!
Over.
Over.
I'm an over guy.
Over.
Over.
Over. Duh.
Dave's an over guy.
Yeah.
Over. All right.
But-
And then someone's being quiet in the corner.
No, he doesn't have a choice.
Clearly.
Oh.
No, actually, I'd say that that over is appropriate, but under is more aesthetically pleasing.
Really?
Yes.
No.
The only way under works is if you have one of those stupid cats that wants to undo your toilet paper. Otherwise, over is the only way to go. And if you want to be aesthetically pleasing, do the little fold like they do in the hotels.
That's exactly what I was going to
I
say.
hate that fold.
Even we're not that
I'm like,
gay.
it's so unnatural. I don't want to look at toilet paper and see a point. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah, but
look
that
at
way
me.
you
I'm
know.
glamorously sharp. Like, I don't want to think about that.
Now you know the maid.
Especially where it goes.
You want a nice arc, a nice roundness to it.
I just want some toilet paper. I just want it to be there.
But then the maid came and fixed it. If it's in the point.
The maid. Really?
Say what you're going to say again.
No, I think it's great because there's always that little spot to grab.
Oh, but I'm really anal about it. I will actually change it over and flip it over.
I will too.
Yeah.
And I
like
had
in a
friend-
public restroom, you'll flip it over.
Oh yeah.
If it's possible, yeah.
Yeah. I had a
It's
friend.
taking anal to a whole new level.
I had a friend that was super anal about it, and when I would go to his house, I would put it upside down.
Whoa.
I'm that guy.
Oh, you are that guy.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's fun.
Wow.
It's so funny you said that because at work, I went into the urinal to go to the bathroom, and all of a sudden, someone had taped a piece of paper above the urinal right in my face, and it said, don't put towels, like paper towels, in the urinal.
Mm.
And at the very bottom, it said, don't be that guy.
I gotta tell you, I physically cannot urinate on wet toilet tissue in a toilet. I cannot do it. I have to flush it first. I can't. I hate the sound of it, the thought of it. I hate the idea of wet toilet tissue. When I was a kid, my sister would have haunted houses and we'd have to reach in and touch the wet tissue in the bowl in the dark. And someone tells you it's a brain or something and you're just like, I mean, I'm still grossed out at that thought. I just think it's disgusting.
Why would you give us that ammunition against you, fool? Have you met us? Come on.
It's not like I'm not going to use the toilet because I'm just going to flush it first.
Oh.
I think that you spoiled your
Let's
sexy
throw-
topic this time.
Sexy topic. I'm on sexy topic.
soiled.
Yes.
I'm a sitter, so.
Huh. Well, now that I think about it, I like to have it flushed and clean, yeah.
I can't deal
Just-
with it. I don't
just-
care if it's
just-
even if it's my toilet paper that I threw in there when I killed a fly or something and I threw it in the toilet. If I come back later, I have to flush it first. I will go insane.
Yeah, me too.
Well, that's disgusting.
Welcome to TMI International Airport.
There's a lot of prank call opportunities with this.
I thought we were going to resort to potty humor on this podcast.
What?
Oh, let's start burping.
Oh, God.
All right.
Oh, it's
Get an editor.
Clay fake burps.
My brother and I used to talk to each other, and we had this long bathroom. Like the toilet was at one end and the tub was at the other, and the reverb was awesome, and the burps would go flying down the hallway, and all of a sudden, you're from down the hall. My mother, "You two are disgusting! Stop it! We can hear you in the family room." Sorry.
Nice.
Yeah, poor mom.
Nice.
Well, to continue our discussion of issues of weight and approaching weight loss, there's issues around eating, obviously. And so when you're in a relationship with someone who's eating differently now, like their stomach's smaller, do you have to modify how you, the non-modified partner, eats? Or if you're at work, are there concerns or issues you might have as a larger person as to what you eat or how much you eat in front of other people? So I think you brought this topic up originally, Dave. What's your spin?
Well, someone mentioned this on Facebook the other day, and I was quick to say, well, in my company, I'm the biggest guy, and I don't care. I'll eat anything in front of anybody, and it doesn't matter. And then I thought about it, and I'm like, I've been there for 13 years, and I'm absurdly comfortable with these people. And I think that, when I'm in an environment with strangers, especially if I'm the biggest guy at a table, 10 people, or if I'm at a business lunch or something, I gotta say, I probably do reel in my eating on some level. Like, I think I feel self-conscious about being the biggest guy and eating the most. I don't know. I think it's sort of, it's probably a social stigma against it, right? No one likes to see the fat guy eat too much. So, you eat whatever you want with the people you're most comfortable with, but with the people you're not, you probably reel it in.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I've been a little self-deprecating in the last few years, and I just kind of fluff it off and go, it takes a lot to maintain this weight. Is that bad to say?
It would make me cry on the inside.
It depends on what you're eating. You know what I'm saying? If you're eating excessively, if you're having like your fourth piece of pie in front of people, I guess it's only fair that you kind of joke about it. That's what that's what I would do when I was much bigger. I did that. I don't know.
Well, you use humor to cover up your pain, Dave.
Sure. I don't know. I got to tell you, I think that I was a comedian for about a decade, and one of the things I thought was hysterical was whenever there was some sketch I could do where I was a fat guy and I was eating a lot. We had this sketch called Salsa where I ate salsa at a really rapid pace while someone salsa danced. And then one where I ate food with the chopsticks while someone else played chopsticks rapidly on a piano. And it was always like, oh, it's so funny because the fat guy is like eating fast or like eating a lot or whatever. And now I realize that I definitely there's a certain humor in I've associated humor with my obesity. That's how I got through it, I think.
I think a lot of stand-up comedians have done that.
Probably.
Yeah.
Not the skinny ones.
I don't know, name a skinny famous comedian nowadays.
Seinfeld.
Jim Carrey.
Said nowadays.
Yeah, he's
Robin Williams.
Amy Schumer.
well, I mean,
currently.
Amy Schumer's current, and she's
sold out.
at the Castro
She
this
sold out
weekend.
the
She's
Castro.
sold out.
Yeah.
Wow. Yes, she is.
Do you know her publicist?
I don't. And we're out of town, so we can't go to the show. So
I thought you were going to go, well, we're out of time.
Actually, I wanted to go back to pie, though, because I was curious about 4 slices of pie. It was like 3 slices of pie is acceptable and 4 is over the limit, or
you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking about when you have this, you're at this event and it's amorphous and there's like unlimited food. It's like a barbecue or something. And you kind of keep circling back to the table and there's that one person that's noticed. You've been to the dessert table like 3 times. Everyone's like looking at me like, no, Dave, we don't have that problem. But you know what? I don't know. There's definitely this moment where you feel like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have one more, but.
do you think that's about you or about them, though?
It's always about me.
See, that's the way I feel too. I started this job I'm at now about 1.5 years ago, and I work with all skinny people and a bunch of straight guys, and they are all obsessed about their weight. They're all on a diet all the time. And I felt so self-conscious. And like the second week, because we go out to lunch every Monday as a group, the second week I was there, they told me this about this guy they'd call affectionately Strawberry Shake, because they took him to lunch and he had a strawberry shake and a piece of strawberry pie. And his nickname is forever Strawberry Shake. So I had this mentality.
You're like, I'm only going to eat healthy in front of them or
Yes.
eat light or whatever.
And
yeah.
you
That's
believe
disturbing.
The crap I would eat in front of those
Yeah.
people. I'm just going to have a little salad today. And I'd go home and I'm starving,
Wow.
That's
awful.
exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
That a lot of people don't eat in front of other people.
It's true. I had a friend in college that she would eat before she'd go on a date because she didn't want the guy to know she ate. And I thought that was just idiotic because you're going to get free food.
There was an ad, I think it was for like Diet Coke or something like that, or Diet Pepsi, and this woman goes back behind in the kitchen of a restaurant and she's shoveling food in her face, and then she excused herself from the table, and then she goes and eats all this food in the kitchen, and then she comes back to the table and she's like, oh, just have a salad, thank you. But I mean, it's based in reality. People do that. It's kind of cuckoo.
Well, why would you go on a second date with a chick who's, shovels the food in?
Because she's going to be a lot more fun. See, also my sisters.
Yeah.
Jeff's a real cheap date nowadays.
It's
Right?
true.
Yeah.
Just graze.
I get an entree and he gets like an appetizer, and that's pretty much it.
That's awesome.
I feel a little bad for the servers, so I actually like tip sort of excessively now because I feel bad that they're not getting as much.
You're not ordering as much, yeah.
Yeah.
Small tab for 2 people or whatever, yeah.
Boy, you don't think about the consequences, do you, Jeph?
I
Selfish.
had not considered that one.
Well, Kevin, have you had to modify your eating habits because of the relationship you're in with somebody who's losing a lot of weight?
Well, yeah. I mean, before the surgery, I was working with Jeph and on the weight loss and trying to eat healthier. And then once he actually had the surgery, I told him, I said, well, I'm just going to have what you eat at night. I'll eat like breakfast and lunch, at work normally, and then I was just going to have Jell-O and protein shakes at night, and that was pretty difficult.
You know what we call that? We call that solidarity.
Solidarity.
Salad.
In fact, at one point, Jeph said it was basically like, you have to eat real food. You can't do this. And I was actually kind of getting, kind of.
Did you lose some weight?
Oh, I've actually lost a significant amount of weight since this all started.
Good for you.
Since the surgery, I've actually noticed that I'm eating less. But there were times like shortly after the surgery where I was, taking our dog for a really long walk. And so I'd go get some food and like eat it out at a restaurant, or come back and eat it on like our front porch.
It's almost the opposite of an eating disorder. There's people that sneak away to eat food so they're not seen because they don't want it, and then there's this, which is you're the same thing, but you're doing it to respect someone else or whatever.
Yeah, I really didn't want to make him feel bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God, I just remembered that I went to go visit a friend who just had the surgery in Los Angeles, and I didn't want to eat in front of him, but I needed to eat. So I ate in the car at the Hat. Have you ever been to the Hat in Southern California in Pasadena, where these huge pastrami sandwiches? They're just crazy. I got it everywhere all over me while I was driving. Thank God I had another shirt. I had to change my shirt because I didn't want to eat in front of him.
Well, it's funny,
because he just had the weight surgery.
It's true. And for me, I tried to be cool about that when people are eating. I don't want to make people uncomfortable. But there was one day Kevin and I were out running errands, and I could tell he was getting hungry because he has a few signs that make me realize he's hungry.
What's that supposed to mean?
I'm not the only one.
And we were driving by this deli, and like, okay. And we pulled over the car. I said, you've got to go in and get a sandwich or something. It's like, okay. So we went and got a sandwich, and he gets in the car with it. I said, well, eat it. And I'd make him unwrap it and eat it. And that was the only time it was really hard for me because I was like a foot away from the sandwich and I could smell it and it smelled so good. But I couldn't.
But you already had your little piece of cheese for the day.
Exactly.
But the secret is that Jeff's become a feeder now.
Oh.
Ta-da.
When we'd go out to eat and he would say, you have to stop putting food on my plate. Cause I would I'm full and I'd push my plate in front of him. He's like, you can't do that.
Oh,
and
right.
Then it went from
yeah.
that to, you have to stop staring at me while I eat.
That's the worst. I mean, Jeph has to eat really slowly because his stomach is so small. So it takes him a long time to eat, and I still eat sort of my typical pace. So yeah, I'll get.
So you're going to eat a whole meal before he's had his little cube,
totally
right?
Yeah. Or like he would drink and have like a little 6-ounce glass. It would take him 3 hours to drink it. I mean, it's much better now, but it was very slow at the beginning.
Wow.
Yeah, that's one thing I didn't realize. I never made the association that you can't drink that much liquid either. You have to be really careful about the amount of liquid that you drink because then you wouldn't have any space for the food.
Liquid's easier because your body passes it more quickly.
Okay.
But you can't drink while you're eating, though, right?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that.
You don't take up that valuable food space with the water.
The real estate
Yeah.
with water, yeah.
It's probably why those other people vomit so they can make room.
Oh, you're bad.
Well, anybody ever wake up in front of the refrigerator, or wake up the next morning and find that they've had a meal in their sleep? Any sleep eaters, sleepwalkers in the room? Anyone?
Not me.
You,
I've just
Brian?
heard of people doing it. I don't think I've ever done it.
I have sleptwalk.
Whoa.
I was a sleepwalker as a kid. Very active.
I freaked out some, let's see, I was at a high school marching band trip and sharing a hotel room. I apparently got up off the floor, walked around the bed, went to the wall as if I were switching off a light switch, crawled back over the bed, went into the sleeping bag, and I was just completely oblivious. I vaguely remember them, staring at me, and I hear the word sleepwalk, and I'm just, completely out of it. I used to have issues with that.
Wow. That would freak me out.
I'm not the only one. One time, and this concerns somebody else, I was at a bear run and fell in the next bed, suddenly decided that the phone stand was a urinal. It's like, hi, wake up, that's not the toilet. Hi, please wake up, that's not the toilet.
Was
Well,
this
that's-
sleepwalking or drunk?
That's alcohol involved
That's
there.
alcohol. He had quite a few Long Island iced teas. So, yeah.
I think that's the longest you've ever talked, Wolfie.
Why,
Yeah.
thank you.
It's
I'm
like
a
a
very
record.
quiet person, usually.
Is he sleep talking?
I think he's sleep talking.
No.
Well, that's a good point. Is how much of it's alcohol and how much of it's just sleep. Actually being active while you're asleep. I know as a kid I didn't hardly drink now, so I certainly wasn't drinking when I was younger. And my stepmom was terrorized because we lived in Nebraska, and she'd hear the front door opening, and she'd run downstairs, and here I am just waltzing off in the snow, and she'd have to try to get her boots on so she didn't get frostbite too, and drag me back into the house. And she hardly got any sleep because she was always worried.
Is there a cure or therapy for sleepwalking? Is there something, if you go to your doctor and say, my problem is I sleepwalk. I walk out in the snow while I'm asleep. Is there something they can do?
I know they mentioned it when we were at the doctor's, and they were just like, oh, well, it's just,
We can chain you to the bed.
Guess you're not going to get any sleep for a while until he outgrows it. I mean, the assumption was that he'd outgrow it, but I mean,
That's what I did.
I have, I don't do a lot of sleepwalking anymore, but the reason that this topic came up for me is the other night I was thinking about, I need to charge my iPod, and download some podcasts. And my bedroom is pretty small, and there's a chair in front of my nightstand, and that's where I keep all my electrical cables. And I remember thinking about it before I went to bed and woke up the next morning, and they were sitting on my nightstand. I have absolutely no recollection of this happening, and I couldn't remember if I had told Bill, my partner, and so I asked him, I said, did you get that out for me? He's like, no. So clearly, I did it in my sleep. He doesn't remember me making any noise or turning on the light. So it just, it's like, oh, okay, I haven't thought about that in decades, and all of a sudden, there it is.
I'm impressed that you were efficient in your sleepwalking, though.
I know.
Like you accomplished a task.
Getting shit done.
That's handy. I would love to do that.
I heard that Ambien, that people that take Ambien sleepwalk.
I've heard that too.
I've heard that too.
I've been taking Ambien, but I haven't done any sleepwalking. But
Or have you?
Or have I? But I have had that Tarek has had conversations with me, and that I don't remember them.
I sleep talk. I've had people call
I think that's called general disinterest, though. I don't think that has anything to do with it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, my ex-boyfriend, whenever he would talk about, like, I should really clean up the bedroom or do some dusting, I couldn't remember those conversations.
I've had people call me on the phone and have entire conversations that they'll tell me about that I don't remember. So,
Like at night when you were sleeping or something?
Or during the day, taking a nap. Once I'm down hard.
Oh,
So,
it takes me like a half hour to get up from a nap. For sure, I don't feel 100% for a half hour after a nap.
Well, Wolfie, you were saying about freaking people out. My stepdad, when he did 2 tours in Vietnam, and he had a lot of nightmares. And my poor mother, between the fact that everybody in my family snores and about a handful of us sleepwalked, she didn't get a whole bunch of sleep. And one night, she woke up to my father screaming and me screaming because I had walked into their bedroom and was standing over his bed just staring at him with my eyes wide open. Completely, he rolls over and sees that. He starts screaming. And and the light comes on, and I'm backed up against the wall, and my mother swore, like I said, Jesus Christ, you 2 fucking idiots, go back to bed. And just, being led down the hall. Off you go. So
Poor thing, just with all boys, huh?
Twilight Zone.
On a related note, has anyone here ever had night terrors where you wake up screaming? I used to have that problem a lot.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I blame the movie Arachnophobia. Somebody showed it on the bus once.
Oh, you know what?
It went...
Yeah. Tarek watches a scary movie. He has nightmares that night.
Huh, interesting. I mean, it's not as bad as it used to be. I haven't actually had a night terror since I came out to myself. So, hey, something deeply psychological there.
Wow.
I still have nightmares about, when I was in school, like the paper that you're supposed to write all semester and you didn't write it to the last night, or the class that you thought you dropped and you didn't, now you have to ace the final. And I still have those dreams. I was a really academic oriented child, and I'm still terrified of forgetting to go to class or failing to write a paper or something like that. Still,
man. I got lots of W's, withdrawals. I knew I wasn't going to do it. I had that paperwork done. I withdrew from that class. No problem.
Wow. Well, someone mentioned when we were talking about topics, sleep sex. Anybody have any experience with that?
I need an elaboration on what sleep sex is.
I think it's more like a Twilight thing, like you're waking up and someone touches you.
Oh, I don't know.
Having full-on sex while you're asleep. Kevin?
Isn't that called rape?
Apparently, I've done this a few times.
While you're asleep.
While you're asleep, one morning I woke up and actually Jeph was telling me about this, and he was like, "Wow, you were crazy last night. You were like on fire." And like, what are you talking about? He was like,
I'm not sure if that's how I described it, but
I had absolutely no recollection whatsoever of the experience, and apparently it was quite active.
So it was good for one of you.
It's true, but it was. There's been a few times in my history that I've done that, and it's actually sort of unsatisfying because like you usually fall asleep in the middle of it again. Like you get up, you're very active, and then and your partner's usually like,
Hello.
Are we done?"
Wow.
So.
Oh, you know what? You just reminded me that I fell asleep at the end. When I used to date women. We had sex, and I immediately fell asleep, and she was so pissed she woke me up. Anyway, you just reminded me of that story.
I was going to say that I will oftentimes wake up, raring to go, and, someone's in the bed.
That's called being a man.
Yeah, raring to go, and, it's like, okay, it's, 1:45, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, bing, and I used to think, well, is this because the bars. The bars used to close at, when I went out to bars, they close at 2 or whatever. I don't know what the psychology of it is, but, like you said, like what Kevin said, I'm a man.
Yeah, it's just called being a man.
Fucking A.
It's not psychology, it's physiology.
Physiology. But there was the one time in college when I woke up and my roommates were all like, "Hi, how'd you sleep?" I'm like, "Fine." But, what's going on? We had out-of-town visitors, so we were double bunking, and I was sleeping with one of my female roommates, and she's like, "So, did you remember anything from last night?" I'm like, "No, should I?" And they're all giggling and everything. Apparently, I rolled over in the middle of the night and started mounting her. and she's like, "Well, maybe I should let him do it. I don't know."
Oh my God,
she
like
said,
a dog.
And then she said, then I rolled her over and tried to butt fuck her, and she's like, "That's it, I'm out."
I think this podcast has had too many references to sexual women in the last 90 seconds.
There's a reason we have the explicit tag on iTunes.
That's not what he's talking about. It's not that it's explicit. He just finds it distasteful. But we didn't, nothing happened.
Still a virgin.
But that would have been the only time that it would have, I guess if anything had happened, apparently it wasn't, because I have no recollection of it at all.
Wow.
Just sort of vague memory of her telling me to go back to sleep. Go
You're
back to
probably
sleep.
better off.
Yeah, but all your guy friends thought you were a stud.
Yeah, fucking A.
Yeah.
Did they know that you were gay at the time?
Yeah.
Do you wear condoms to sleep now?
That is a valid question.
I'm just saying.
Safe sleep sex.
But she had a fun conversation with another friend of mine that I had a man who had a platonic relationship. We weren't dating, and same sort of thing. He'd wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, like raring to go. He's like, "Get off me, leave me alone." So, any other sleepwalking, talking, fucking, sucking, eating, peeing, pooping,
Ew.
farting?
I'm cutting that out.
I didn't realize this was that kind of podcast.
Oh,
It is now.
It's whatever you want it to be, Kevin.
How low we have fallen.
Well, the opponents of Prop 8 have hit hard times because I guess the Supreme Court of California finally rejected the very last challenge. So gay marriage is the law in California, never to be changed unless someone tries to change the law again.
I'm sure they will. But I went to a real gay wedding last weekend. They spent a lot of money on it, and it was just, I loved it. I was drinking. I actually cried a little because it was so awesome seeing, like, the weddings that I used to go to in the 80s. So I haven't been to a wedding in so long. It was like that, but with two guys. It was, the same things.
So there's a lot of peach and teal.
A lot of peach teal, black, balloons, white and black,
Shoulder pads.
Rose petals, the bar, the dancing, white lines, and,
But I think
all the stupid songs that are always at weddings, and it was, like, unbelievable.
You can't go wrong with a good cocaine song at a wedding.
I know. I was talking to somebody about that. It's like,
but
why don't they play that
your
song?
experience has kind of been the exception. The rest of us were talking that everybody else who we know that's gotten married has just gone to the courthouse or the city hall and get her done.
Yeah, these guys, I mean, they are just a shining example of what we can do.
Had they planned it before all this happened, all the politics changed, or was it
it's one of those things where the couple's been together for 20 years.
Okay. But a lot of the folks that have been together for 20 years are just going in and getting their civil rights.
Yeah, it's true.
So
it's true. No, they decided to do it up. They had their moms come in. They had everything come in. It was very moving. It was really great.
Well, Dave, you were talking about this.
Yeah, I'm not in a relationship at the moment, and I'm nowhere near marriage, but I would think that if I had been in one lately for a while, I would be excited about my opportunity to have I was going to say a real wedding, but what I mean is like a bigger, fancier wedding than what some of these people are doing who are rushing out, in the last month or two to just do a city hall. But, we may be making observations too early. It could be in the next 6 to 12 months, 18 months, we're going to see a lot more bigger gay weddings happening. Yeah, exactly. Because obviously they take time to plan and you got to rent a venue and all that. But, there just seems like a lot of people running City Hall. And it could be just because of that we all have that fear. It's going to get taken away from us again.
Was it about 12 or 18 months away, we'll start having some big, nasty gay divorces.
Well, some of those already started, I think, right after the Prop 8 thing was over.
Bridezillas. Gay bridezillas.
Right. That'll be fun. Yeah. Well, we're going over on time, so let's wrap it up with some back scratches. Mine will be quick and easy. I want to back scratch my puppy Scarlet, who doesn't know she has cancer, and she's helping me figure out how to process it because she don't know, so I don't have to worry about it either. So there you go, Miss Scarlet. Fuck that mast cell tumor. That's it. How about you, Wolfie?
Let's see. Give a big back scratch to Tim, who couldn't be here tonight. Ron as well. All you guys, you've been great, especially Jeph and Kevin. It's nice having you on here. Also like to give a big hug to my parents, who are celebrating their 45th anniversary in a couple of days.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Thank you.
Shall we continue?
This is Dave. Back scratches to you guys. I love coming here. I will substitute for anyone whenever anyone's injured or busy. Let me know. I'm having a blast. You guys are awesome. And a personal back scratch to my friend Tim C., who has been a good listener lately. I've been going through my little just turned 40 midlife crisis, and he's been there for me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, great. Well, this is Vito. I want to back scratch my boyfriend Tarek, and thank you guys so much for coming on, Jeph and Kevin.
Thanks for
having us. It was
us.
really great. I'm sure a lot of people are going to get a lot of insight out of your being on the podcast.
Cool.
Dave, for guest hosting.
Yeah.
You are awesome. And Tim, wow. I mean, I can't even imagine the pain that you're going through, and we can't wait to have you back. The boys, thanks for, I don't know, I feel that I don't give you enough accolades, but, I really enjoy doing the podcast, and I feel that we all put a lot of love in this, and I really appreciate all the elements.
Yeah.
Don't
cry.
Don't cry.
I promised
There you
myself
go.
I wouldn't cry. So, Jeffrey, do you have anybody you'd like to back scratch?
Well, first, of course, I have to scratch Jesus' back because, I'm just kidding. No, I for you guys, this has been great. It was really nice of you to invite me to come, and I've had a really good time. I was a little nervous, but this has been a lot of fun. And of course, I've gotten so much support throughout this whole project that it's been incredible. I can't say thank you enough to people. It's been awesome.
Well, keep an eye on our website, the Bear Element website. We're definitely going to have links to his future Kickstarters and to his project that's going on now.
Thanks, guys.
And I'm going to do a Kickstarter so we can follow him around and see if we catch him cheating. So I'm going to stake out every Winchell's donut.
There's no room in his stomach. You can't cheat. There's no room.
I think he's lying. I think he likes staring up. He looks partly Italian. Kevin?
Actually, I'm going to give a back scratch to my partner, Jeph.
Oh.
Because he's working really hard on his documentary, and he's been doing a really great job with his weight loss. And I'm glad that he's putting himself out the way he has. It makes me really proud.
You're a big fuzzy piece of candy.
That fell on the floor.
And it's moldy.
Yes. Well, big back scratch to all our listeners. Thank you so much. It's been an interesting year plus, hasn't it?
Really has.
Episode 29.
29.
We'll do something special for 30.
Yes, we should.
Not that this wasn't special, Jeffrey. Not dismissing you at all.
Whatever, you've already ruined it.
It's ruined.
Naked cast. Should we be naked? Oh, it's audio. No one would know.
Well,
So,
we'd get Kevin with his camera. He could come in and document it.
maybe.
I'm busy that night, whatever night you need.
I was going to say, Dave was like, Tim can come back for that.
All right. Well, see you next Tuesday.
Thank you, everybody.
Night.
Visit us at bearelement.com.